everyone, and welcome back to Collateral Damage. Today we have the forces of Cryx, led by Mortenebra, versus Cameron's Orgoth, led by Sabbreth. Let's get right into the lists. Alright, getting started with the Cryx. I am playing Mortenebra today. This is my first or second game with her. I can't remember. I just know I made a lot of mistakes. I'm really excited to play this caster. I really liked her other iterations in Mark II and Mark III. So I'm pretty excited for Mark IV to come out, and it's a very beautiful model. With her, I have the spells Carnage and Sighting Touch racked so that I can make sure to hit Cameron, and I can kill him. The Malefactors, I'm running 3 of those today. The first 2 are kitted out the same with an Overtake Head, Fell Axe, and Spike Shield. And then we have the third Malefactor, as cheap as possible, with a Soul Claiming Head, Harpoon to be able to pull things in, and Ripping Claw. We're running 2 Raptors, basically with Arc Nose to walk up and help that synergy buff. We're running Chatterbane. I will always mess this up. Zixpus, I cannot say it's the one that buffs the Criterions. I'll notice that I pronounced that one correct for the first time. I said Centurions the last time I played these. Got 2 units of those, 2 units of Necrosurgeons because, well, I mean, you got a lot of Jacks, you're going to need more focus. Unit of Night Terrors, and the Furies. My cards today are Breakthrough, Lucky Penny, Old Faithful Put Out the Fires, and Sappers. And yes, I still have a lot of gray on the table, but I'm getting farther, closer and closer. Hopefully next time it'll be fully painted. What about you, Cameron?
Today I'm running Sabbreth, the Eternal Annihilation. She's a pretty excellent spell slinger caster who can buff everything in her battle group. In this case, she gives everything Overtake, which we are using to full effect with an Arc Node Jackal, just to give her a little bit of spell range. A second Jackal with Bloodthirst and a Mace, just to kind of jam things up and also take some advantage of Overtake and beat back. A pair of Raveners, which paired with their damage profiles make very good use of Overtake. A Siege Tarrasque, 2 units of Nashers, a unit of Rogue Harriers, just for a little bit of flanking, and cavalry, just something to move fast and kind of distract. We're also trying out 2 units of Strike Reavers today, just to see how they perform. They're sort of a chaff unit and a frontline defensive unit that can do a little bit of shooting, and if they can make a charge, then they're pretty excellent at that. And then last, we have 1 unit of Ulcor Axers, also just to jam things up. I'm running a default rack of cards, with one exception. We are losing Blessing for Sapper, just to get things out of the way and help us make those important assaults.
Alright, today's scenario is Scenario 6, Best Laid Plans. This one has every objective type on it, but it's got a really nice twist to it. At the end of the second player's first turn, you roll a d3, and you remove 1 set of the middle objectives. It could be the 40mm, it could be the 50mm, or it could be the caches, and let's be honest, it's always the one that you set it for to try to go for. Cryx Deployment. Well, obviously I won the roll-off, and I decided to go first. Not sure if that's a good idea or bad idea. I put my caster in the middle, and she has a short control area of 12, so I want all my Jacks to be in that so that they can benefit from synergy. And I put my Criterions on the side so they can flank. Necrosurgeons I put kind of in the back so they can either buff things or put focus on my Jacks. Chatterbane, same thing, ready for the buff. Furies, placed where they can keep stuff alive, hopefully my caster by doing negative damage. And the Night Terrors I put on the flank because, you know, I want them to follow up and do some sweet, sweet finisher damage after the Jacks do some work.
Orgoth Deployment. Start by placing a Siege Tarrasque and a Ravener middle right to support the cohort objective. Place 1 of the Jackals, a unit of Strike Reavers. Then place the unit of Axers on the left unit flank to hedge my bets a little bit over there. The second Jackal deploys middle right towards the cache, along with a unit of Strike Reavers, the Rogue Harriers, and then we hold the 2 units of Nashers for advanced deployment. placing those Nashers fairly middle, trying to take an aggressive stance with them so they can either get an early charge or hold back and be defensive and countercharge.
Cryx Turn 1. I power up all my jacks. Try to decide how I want to do this here. Apparition up so I can get a little bit more movement with my Night Terrors. I decide since my jacks are in the center here, I should probably run up and grab these big, shiny cohort objectives. Try to just contest the rest. I'll activate Morty, cast Synergy on herself, cast Silent Touch on the Malefactor, Admonition on the other, Axe and Board Malefactor, leaving me on one focus. This is when we remember that we forgot to actually place our flags. This was later in the day, and we may have been a little tired, so we figured out where we wanted to put our flags. We put them there, and then I finished running Morty up. Then I kind of just moved my jacks up to kind of get them in position. I think I'm relatively safe on the first turn. I'm just hoping to get in position for next turn to try to run in and maybe do a little bit of damage if he mismeasures. And I just run up the other support pieces to make sure they're in range to do their things next turn.
Orgoth Turn 1. So I start this turn by doing quite a bit of pre-measuring. Since I'm going second here, I want to make sure that I can choose when to engage, especially with my fragile units like Nashers, relatively fragile for Orgoth at least. We move the one unit of Nashers up to the left and the second just to the right flanks, trying to get them kind of on the outskirts. Hopefully catch something that moves up a little bit too far, but still threaten the objectives and hedge our bets for which set is going to disappear. Pre-measuring for the Siege Trask as well, just to make sure that he's going to be out of harm's way. In hindsight, probably a mistake. Should get him up there and get him hit a little bit to generate some rage on him. So at this point, I also realized I forgot to do my upkeep and control, so might kindly let me go back and redo my assignments there. Then we continue activating and moving up. We move a unit of Strike Reapers up in base to base, just dead center, waiting to see what we can do with those. Ravener starts to move up pretty aggressively towards the left. And we are supporting him with a unit of Axers as well. The second Ravener goes dead center to threaten both cohorts, along with one of the Jackals. This is the Arc Node Jackal, so we're trying to give Sabbreth a little bit of additional range. We activate Sabbreth, move her up to relative safety, but center. Cast Fog of War and Inviolable Resolve on her Arc Node Jack. Next, we move the second unit of Strike Reapers up. Looking for a good spot to put the Harriers. I think I blocked myself a little bit there, so I decided to move them to the center just to try and maybe get a counter charge off if things don't go well for me. At the end of Orgoth Turn 1, I roll to see which set of objectives disappears. I roll a 6, which is of course a 3 on a d3, so the center 50mm cohort objectives are gone, It is, of course, where I stacked the bulk of my forces, so we are going to be planning to relocate.
I also stacked the bulk of my forces there, and I remember talking about this at the beginning of the game, thinking, I was like, it's going to be funny, it's going to be the center one, since we're so stacked up here.
Yeah, you called it.
I was like, great, now we have to try to reposition to try to get these other things. But more into the turn 2, I just need to try to see if you've made any measure mistakes, or give me any opens. You're really good at...
I don't make mistakes, Mike.
You never make mistakes. You're really good at pre-measuring and making sure that everything is out. You're really good about asking my my threat ranges on things, usually when we play, so it's kind of hard to catch you in one. So,
for turn 2, I'm hoping to catch a few units out. I think I'm threatening enough that you are kind of obligated to move forward, and that maybe I can get a couple favorable picks, or even just get a good feat turn off. Sabbreth's feat is to cast all of her spells once, so that's 6 spells going out. We can usually pick something off of that.
Cryx Turn 2. Power up all my jacks, because they're not going to get into damage this time, so I'm just going to sit on Focus with Morty. She also upkeeps everything for free, which is a really cool ability. I apparition up with my Night Terrors there. And then I spend a exorbitant amount of time pre-measuring and trying to figure out where I can get something in. I get lucky over here, and when you moved that that guy from the other side of the house, it allowed me to just barely be in with that first guy to charge in and start doing some damage here. I'm hoping to tie you up here. I may not be able to kill a whole bunch, but at least I can keep you pushed back a little bit so you don't come up and just grab my cash. I end up getting some pretty lucky rolls here, and I think I end up pulling up 2 of them. My dice were very swingy. I would either roll really high or really, really low. There was no middle ground in this game. I run this jack up here because with Morty's feet, she can just bring back a jack full strength, which is amazing. It can't do anything the turn it comes back, but it just bring a jack back. So I throw this jack up here with ammunition in the hopes of you trying to come in and kill it, and if you do kill it, great, I just try to bring it back the next turn. At this point, I'm just kind of positioning because nothing else is in threat range. Walk up my Night Terrors and then reposition them. Run the other jack up behind this cloud, the acid cloud. Right here, I'm trying to measure to make sure that I'm not going to run my chicken out of synergy range. Chatterbane walks up, and Chatterbane rocks up and enlivens my jack. So if you damage it, it gets to move. Position the Necrosurgeons. Activate Morty. Morty doesn't really do anything, just walks up. I bring the Furies up. Decide to throw a Marionette on the Jackal because it's in range. And I managed to actually hit. Real proud of myself.
Orgoth, turn 2. My maintenance and upkeep, we go ahead and let Fog of War expire. We won't be needing the defensive buff anymore. We upkeep Inviolable Resolve. Load up the Raveners full of focus. You start by activating the lone surviving Nasher. He fortunately can make a charge. He moves in to attack the Cephalix. His second initial removes 1. We make a Berserk attack. And no kill, but a pretty good amount of damage. Next, we move the Strike Reavers in. A couple of those guys are already tied up, but the others make a charge. Eventually, they do enough damage to remove 1 and take a good chunk off the remaining. We activate the Siege Tarrasque, moving him center just to get some range for his harpoon. Go for the Admonition Malefactor, hoping to effectively make Admonition useless here, but the harpoon misses.
Clutch rolls always miss.
Yeah, anytime you've got that one attack, it's going to miss. Next, we activate the unit of Axers and just get them as far forward as possible, tying up as many units as possible. Axers do manage to remove 1 of the cavalry. And put the rest of their attacks into the Cephalix unit, dealing 7 but not securing a kill. Next, we activate the Ravener, and he gets a solid charge off.
In fact, you hurt me so much I have to take painkillers.
A Ravener with Overtake and Berserk can do some serious damage, as we start to see here. Remove the first model and overtake forward to stay in range. The POW 16 Weapon Master and Berserk, he's pretty much just lifting a model per attack. Overtake again. And that finishes off the Cephalix unit. But we keep going into the cavalry. Manages to take out the cavalry as well, Ravener is really putting a hurt on. Get a little extra movement off the overtake there as well. So his tally's already up to 2 this game.
He is doing work.
We activate the unit of Nashers next and just move them up, making sure that they're in range of both unit objectives. Go ahead and activate one of the Jackals and throw him as far forward as possible, trying to trigger admonition. Malefactor admonitions forward. We continue with the Jackal's activation. He only manages to do like a point of damage here and gets a 1 beat back off. But he did tie some units up, so he's doing his job. Next, we're activating the Harriers. Here I'm just throwing them forward, trying to get center position with them and just make a wall of large bases and hopefully get some damage off into the Malefactor, knowing full well that he's just going to bring it back, but we do have to get rid of it.
Yes, fall into my trap.
You and your Cryx schemes.
Now remember, if you don't want to be on the wrong side of a Cryx scheme, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications.
Harriers altogether end up doing about 6 points of damage, but we do get a critical pitch off and throw him into the nearby obstacle, knocking him down. It's going to make him much easier to deal with for us. The Harrier is done. We go ahead and activate the next Ravener and charge him into the Malefactor. Unfortunately, this is the B team Ravener, so the Malefactor lives with 1 point of damage remaining. Go ahead and activate Sabbreth and charge her in to finish the Malefactor off. She does manage to kill it and retains 3 focus. For the rest of this turn, we're just maneuvering a little bit here, trying to secure our board position. done quite a bit of damage and removed pretty much the entire unit side flank. So I just want to make sure that I keep that advantage, block things up. The unit of Strike Reavers move up to do a little bit of combined ranged attack damage. But they end up doing nothing. End of Orgoth turn 2. Scoring begins. Leaves Mike scoring 1 point and myself scoring 2, controlling both of the 40 millimeters, but not my own flag, unfortunately. I think I could have positioned better there and made that 3-1, but hindsight's 2020.
Well, I'm in trouble. I feel like you have done a really good job of boxing me in. So I need to either find a way to spread out better, or I'm going to have to try to go for your caster. I don't know if that's feasible at this point, but we'll see what we can do.
Hopefully not. Things are looking a little bit dire here. I really wasn't expecting the left flank to just disappear like that.
Yeah, you just came into me and it just collapsed. I was hoping you'd miss one and something would stay alive and just end your reign of terror. But nope. Nope, you just came in, just ate everything up. Glutton. Cryx turn 3. Well, after much measuring and much thinking, I think I spent way too long, maybe 10 minutes, thinking about this. I decide I need to go for the caster kill. It's possible I have an angle to get there, but I won't know 100% until I can kill some of the stuff in front. But before I do that, I need to start the synergy chain. I start with my my chicken. I walk him up. I boost the damage. And I miss. Because of course I do. Then I activate the harpoon jack. Turn around. And I smack your jackal to start the synergy chain. And then I proceed with the other attacks to whiff with double ones, and I think whiff again with the other attack. I buy an attack, do some damage. But not very much. Then I activate chicken number 2. Chicken number 2 walks up. Hits the jackal. And this time I hit. Giving me my second level of synergy. Nope, I need all 3 if I'm going to hope to kill your caster sitting on 3 focus. So it's time for Morty to do some work. Morty casts Carnage and Mobility for that extra movement, because it's a pretty far run to get to your caster. I figure out where I can actually place Morty and still kill the thing that I need to kill. I find it and I charge over with nice flying. It won't fit in there because she's got those massive wings, so we set it to the side, use the proxy base. Boost to hit, because I don't want to miss. And this charge attack, boost damage and kill it. Morty then uses her spray attack. and does nothing. I then reposition Morty out of the way. So his axe are still in front, which is not a good thing. So I move up Catterbane, give him auxiliary shot, and I attack the axe in front. Really hoping to kill that thing so I can get a charge off, but unfortunately, no. Now we spend another large amount of time trying to figure out if I can actually walk up there. So I need to go in a straight line. We end up having to bring someone else in to look at it for us and figure it out. And we finally find that I am just in. Barely in. Okay, so after much deliberation, I walk up, thanks to my ability, and I swing my initial axe at, oh boy, and guess what? Double ones! Because of course, I use my other two initial attacks on the Ravager, because if I don't kill him, I'm going to have to fight him at some point. I think I don't end up doing maybe 1 or 2 points of damage, if anything at all. We buy an attack, because I can only use my axe. I hit. End up doing 13 points of damage. Takes 5 to mitigate that. Buy another attack. And double ones! Buy my last attack. I need big money, big rolls here. I hit, and 14 damage. Even with the -5, I managed to kill him, I think, to the dot. Man, that was a Hail Mary. That's the only chance I had on that. I feel like you did a really good job of boxing me in. And man, Raveners, they slap so hard.
They really put in some work. I think, I could have probably positioned a little bit better, moved the Harriers back maybe, and tried to protect Sabbreth a little bit more, but the Cryx movement and scheming is just not to be underestimated. You really pulled it out.
Yeah, I think when you came up and killed the Jack, that's the only thing that got you in position for me. Like you said, if you pulled a little to the side, if it had been a millimeter out, like we're talking about in the video, we had to bring extra outside people in because it was so close to call. We didn't want to call it. We're like, we got too much in this game. Somebody else call this. So, I definitely feel like Morty makes me turtle up, and I don't know how to get out of that because I feel like it wants to, just for the sheer fact that you need that synergy to build to make the list effective. I don't know if Morty replaces Viscerus. I think he's a better Jackcaster overall. But I will say Morty is a lot of fun to play. Having +3 to hit and +3 to damage when you build that up is nuts. Plus that Carnage on top of that, you got +5 to hit. Of course, it doesn't help if you roll double ones all the time. But, yeah.
It does help me if you roll double ones all the time. Not enough. I needed a few more of those to stay alive. I think that Sabbreth is an excellent caster. I really enjoy playing her. She's a little more tricky than the average Orgoth list. I think I could probably cut a little bit of dead weight from the list as well. I'm not super happy with the Siege Trask, though maybe that's a pilot skill diff. But overall, I think Sabbreth adding Overtake to her cohort, especially the Raveners, is really impressive. It's almost reason enough to take her. She's just not quite as beefy as Horus, and that showed in this game, I think.
Gotta be real careful when I'm playing you, when you're playing Sabbreth, to make sure I don't leave my stuff too close together. Because that whole flank dying over on that side really made me change the game from hold out to, I have to go for this or you've won. I mean, like, if I hadn't have killed Sabbreth, you would have gained 2 more points, bringing you up to 4. I would have gained 1, bringing me up to 2. Now on your turn, you would have taken out that other flank and then just taken me on points. You could have just sat back and kept Sabbreth behind a bunch of models and nothing I could have done about it at that point. So, well, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for joining us, and make sure you join us next time on Collateral Damage.